If I argue that the capitalist world economy came into existence more or less in the long 16th century, more or less in what is today Western Europe, plus the Americas, plus parts of Eastern Europe and Southern Europe, I'm saying that it was functioning in the sense that it was an existing division of labor, which worked in certain specific ways, which one can elaborate. There were core areas and peripheral areas. There was a certain kind of a set of capitalist processes and the primacy of the endless accumulation of capital. I have to say also that it brought into existence a set of political institutions which were appropriate, the creation of the modern state system, and all wrapped within an interstate system, which is a very different structure from anything that we've had before. Now, the curious thing, perhaps not curious, but the fact is that as this system came into operation, one of the compromises that was used to sustain it and to keep it from falling apart was that they talked a language to describe it which was incorrect and inappropriate. They talked a feudal language from the 16th to the 18th century. People still had aristocracies and privileges and orders, and they justified things in terms of that. So, in a sense, at the level of the entire system, the cultural language was out of sync with what was actually going on. Now, this changes suddenly and profoundly with the French Revolution. The French Revolution is not important for France. I know that sounds shocking, but it made relatively little difference in its political structure. It made relatively little difference in its economic structure. What the French Revolution did was change the cultural situation in the capitalist world economy as a whole. Because the French Revolution legitimated two ideas which were around before but did not get widespread sanction. Idea number one was that political change is normal. Now, it's not that political change occurs, but that it's normal. Political change has always occurred. But if you look at all the intellectual justifications prior to the French Revolution for political changes, the justifications were that they weren't changes, that they were the restoration of some situation of an earlier point in time, that they were bringing the system back to its proper functioning. People argued that changes were not changes. And all of a sudden, people were saying, no, changes are really changes, and changes are normal, and changes are good. It's an evolving world. That was a new idea, the legitimacy of political change. And within 20 years, it suddenly spread. It was like a genie let out of the bottle, and they couldn't put it back in. And then there was a second idea. When the capitalist world economy begins to function in the 16th century, I say, well, we create a state system. State system is based on a mythical concept called sovereignty. The mythical concept is that every state is autonomous within its boundaries, and there's no area that's not within somebody's boundaries. It's mythical because no state was truly autonomous. But what happened is that we now have a major shift from the idea that the sovereignty resides in the monarch or some aristocracy, and that the sovereignty resides in some thing we have to put in quotes called the people. And that absolutely transforms the cultural situation of the capitalist world economy.